Kurt Warner from the NFL Network joining us on the show on behalf of Skittles. We'll get to that mention in a moment. The former Barnstormers legend who joins us now. Kurt, I just played a clip. Curt Schilling was talking about John Smoltz getting into the Hall of Fame and the fact that being media-friendly, likability also plays a role. You're going to be somebody up for the Hall of Fame. How important is that role, being media-friendly, being part of the media in the whole mix here?
I have no idea. I mean, I think what you hear is that it's not supposed to play that big of a role, but I think human nature says that it does. Just having experience with different guys over the years, different guys that I suppose are voters, that they remember your interactions. They remember the conversations that you had, and you have to think that can factor in. Does it? I really have no idea, and but it's one of those things for me with the media. I felt like it was a part of my job to be responsive to the media and to be open and to give them opportunities to share whatever they wanted to talk about. So I don't know if it plays in at all. But again, human nature probably has a little bit of effect on how people remember you and how they feel about you.
Did you have any concerns about your faith and how much you talked about it, if it would turn people off, members of the media off?
Never thought about it. I just kind of took the approach, be who you are. Show people who you are. Don't change regardless of the circumstances, whether the good times or the bad times. And I tell you what, I've always felt that the media has been very respectful of me. And that didn't mean that they didn't criticize me when I deserved to be criticized. But I always took the approach, hey, treat them how you would want them to treat you. And I felt like in 99% of the cases, that's exactly what happened, was they were fair, they were honest. And, like I said, weren't all positive stories, but I got what I wanted to get because, I tried to do the same for them. I tried to be fair and honest with as many people as possible. And I just felt like that was part of my job, was to communicate with the media in that way. And I think when you do it, or at least when I did it in hopes that it would be reciprocal, that if I treated them a certain way, they would treat me that same way. And I have to say that for the most part, that's exactly what's happened.
Also, you look at the numbers now these quarterbacks are putting up. Is there part of you saying, gosh, if I don't get in soon, people are going to look at my numbers compared to everybody else's, and it might not be a fair fight?
Yeah, there's no question that I don't know how you're going to be able to decipher, not just the quarterback position, the receiver position and all of those things moving forward. I mean, even sacks, and guys that were dominant at their position, they're going to be passed over from a sack category because of the way the NFL's played now. So I don't know how you, as a voter, are going to be able to juggle that and figure out, if somebody has, 20,000 more yards than another guy, how do you compare those two guys? Especially if you weren't there to really see and take in, who that person was and what they meant to the NFL or a team at that particular time. So, I don't envy those guys. It's hard enough when you look at the list and how many talented players are there. But then to start adding in these funny numbers that we've got now, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
He's Kurt Warner joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Was there a scenario when you would have come back to play for the Cardinals given all the injuries at quarterback?
There was a scenario where I would have considered it. It went through my mind. I actually spent a lot of time talking to my family about it and contemplating it, just from the standpoint, if they reached out, would I at least take the first step to see if there was a possibility? I mean, I continue to say that I think it's arrogant to think that I could have stepped off of the couch and gone into the NFL and played at a playoff caliber level after a couple weeks.
Did they reach out to you?
No, I actually talked to Coach Arians and Steve Kine just in passing when I was at the Thursday night game when Drew Stanton went down, and more jokingly they're like, well, it might be time for you to start loosening up and suit up. So it was more tongue in cheek, and that was really the only conversation that I had with them in kind of that.
What if
that
they were
joking
serious,
manner.
though? What if they were serious? What if they said, "Look, we're all in on it, and you'll be rusty, but we have time, and we want you to play."
Like I said, I would have considered it. I talked to Brenda and the kids about doing it, and physically I feel really, really good. Now, is that the same as being able to compete at the NFL level? Absolutely not. So I think the biggest reservation for me would have been I didn't want to screw it up for them. I didn't want, again, out of my arrogance to think, I can go back and play and I can help this team, and then I go in there and screw the whole thing up. That was my biggest concern, and I wasn't worried about me. I mean, I've screwed up things before. I'd have recovered. I was more worried about, hey, this team had done so many good things. Now, if I were to step in and wasn't what they needed to be, and I was the reason they lost, that would have been hard for me to handle. Even though maybe the expectations weren't high, they would have been high for me, and it would have been really, really tough. But yeah, and I considered it. And had they truly reached out and we sat down and talked about it, I don't really know what I would have done.
You would have played. Did Colin Kaepernick call you?
No. It's a situation where there's a group here in town that I've worked with a little bit in the past that just said, Colin's going to come and work with them. Would I be willing to come over and help, when I could? In some different facets with what they're doing. And so, I had talked to Colin over the last couple of years numerous times just saying, hey, I'm here. I watch all the film. If I can ever help you in the course of a week or in the off season, please reach out to me. So I think, as he was talking to this group and they had mentioned me, he was open to the idea of being able to do a little work together. So I don't know what that's going to look like come this off season, as crazy busy as I am, but I'm looking forward to having a chance to hopefully impact him in a positive way.
What are you doing with Skittles?
We're making game day awesome, Dan. We're Skittles is involved with the Super Bowl for the first time this year, and so they've got some great promotions leading up to the Super Bowl. A couple weeks ago, we had a tailgate party out at the stadium with hot tubs full of Skittles, and we did dunk tanks full of Skittles, and just having a good time, and really kind of how Skittles does it. They like to push the envelope and have fun with everything they do. So a lot of great promotions leading up to the Super Bowl. They're going to have their first Super Bowl spot there. So just encouraging everybody to check out footage of that tailgate and everything else Skittles is doing by going to their YouTube page, their official Skittles YouTube page, or follow them on Twitter at Skittles.
Coldest weather you ever played in?
Coldest weather. I was very fortunate in my career. I didn't have to go too many cold places, but in 2008, we had to go up to New England on the morning of a snowstorm, a bunch of wet snow, so it was cold, and you got tackled, and your entire uniform was soaking wet, and we proceeded to get beat 47-7 or something like that. So pretty miserable day all the way around.
Yeah. You could be playing in Seattle this weekend. You know that?
You're crazy, man. See, you're like everybody else. I appreciate the fact that
Kurt, in
you guys
retrospect, the way Lindley played, you know this. You could have given me 200 yards and made at least there was a threat of offense, right?
Well, I'm going to believe you because, yes, of course my ego would tell me that I could have done that. I'm not sure I could have, but my ego tells me that. So I'll agree with you from that standpoint.
You may not want to face that Seattle defense, but you could have been there in Seattle this weekend.
That's for sure. I'm sure that's nothing you want to do at 43 years old coming off a couch is to face that defense.
Hey, bud, we'll see you at the Super Bowl. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
All right. That's Kurt Warner.